Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Saturday, 13th of January 2024. We're publishing our gold and silver weekly update for the weekend in the 12th of January. Last week we saw an about turn in gold and silver prices. They were heading lower and then a sharp reversal on Friday. We also saw equity markets rise for the week, while at least in the United States, and the dollar index remained broadly unchanged. But what's perhaps more interesting is what caused the reversal in gold and silver prices on Friday. Well, in order to find out, we'd better take a look. First, just a quick reminder that we've set up a second channel entitled Finances Do Matter, covering a whole array of financial topics. We've placed a link in the description box and comment section below for those who have not as yet joined that channel. Now, looking at gold and silver prices and other market movements, well, gold rose $4 last week, rising from $2,045 to $2,049. It did actually hit a high of $2,062 and a low of 2013, a rise of just 0.2% for the week. In sterling terms, it was down £2 at £1,607, and in euros, it was up €1 at €1,871. Now, silver basically broke even for the week, even though it was lower in the early parts. It did hit a high of $23.55 and a low of $22.49. In sterling terms, silver closed at £18.22, that's down 5 pence, and in euros it closed at 21.22 euros, down 0.03 euros, more or less unchanged. Gold to silver ratio just ticked up 0.1 of a point from 88.2 to 1 to 88.3 to 1. Now, cryptocurrencies saw a turbulent week, Bitcoin reaching annual highs, but then actually closing down $1,000 at $42,724. Equities, certainly in America, regained some composure and were marginally up for the week, though not quite the case in the UK. The Dow Jones was up 126 points at 37,592. The S&P 500 up 86 points at 4,783. And the Nasdaq up 448 points at 14,972. Unfortunately, the FTSE index was down 65 at 7,624. Oils were lower for the week. Brent crude down 47 cents at $78.29, and WTI crude down $1.13 at $72.68. The dollar index stands at 102.41, practically unchanged on the week. Now, last week we predicted gold would trade between $2,000 and $2,100, which it did quite comfortably, and silver we said would trade between $22 and $24.50, which it also did quite comfortably. Now, last weekend we said to watch out for the CPI figures on Thursday, especially core CPI, which broadly came in as anticipated. This means core CPI fell from 4 to 3.9% on an annual basis. Not quite as much as many analysts and traders hoped for, but within the ballpark. The normal CPI rate, though, did tick up to 0.3% for the month, which meant that inflation under this measure rose from 3.1% on an annual basis to 3.4%. But economists seem satisfied that the core CPI rate indicates a declining trend in inflation. The upshot of this is that interest rates may remain higher for slightly longer than anticipated. This caused both gold and silver prices to fall on the announcement. However, PPI prices, which represent US wholesale prices, fell in December for the third month in a row, which points to decelerating inflation for the months ahead. So we saw a revival in precious metal prices towards the end of the week, leaving both prices, gold and silver, more or less unchanged. The figures to watch out for, though, this coming week: Wednesday retail sales for December expected to rise from 0.3 to 0.4%, but to remain unchanged at 0.2% if automobiles are removed from the equation. Also, the import price index for December is anticipated to fall to minus 0.6%, compared with minus 0.4 the previous month. Will be interesting to see how that pans out. It is, however, the PCE figures due to be announced on the 26th of January that all eyes will be paying attention to in order to compare with the CPI figures recently announced. They're both slightly different measures of inflation. Now, the PPI figures on Friday were not sufficient in themselves to help the rise in gold and silver prices. Geopolitics came into play. You see, the United States and Britain launched airstrikes across Yemen beginning yesterday, attacking 16 locations and striking 60 military targets in an attempt to stifle more drone attacks on merchant ships. These combined actions magnify the fear that the war in Israel is spreading to a much larger Middle East conflict involving multiple Iranian-backed military proxies. The result was to see gold triggering a bullish reversal from key support on Friday as it breaks out to reach a 5-day high of $2,062. To the downside, gold tested the 50-day MA at 2013, which was virtually where the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level was reached. Gold bounced off this, and now analysts are predicting $2,176 for gold very soon. Now, for that vision to come into play, gold has to surpass and convincingly beat the resistance level at the $2,075 level. Now, like gold, silver recovered from early week declines and the push down on Thursday. Analysts believe that $22 is silver's short-term bottom or floor, with $24.50 being a level for serious resistance, something we pointed out last week. If this, however, is broken, a rise to $26 cannot be ruled out, though we would have to see much better news on inflation and or some worsening of the geopolitical tensions to achieve that level short term. So where do we see gold and silver heading this coming week? Well, because of recent airstrikes, we expect to move towards safe haven assets like gold and silver. And so this coming week, we expect to see gold trade between $2,020 and $2,100, with the outlier range standing between $2,000 and $2,175. It really does depend how serious this incident gets and what retaliatory action is received. For silver, we're looking at a trading range of $22.50 to $24, with $22 to $25 as outliers. Now, what do you think? Please do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. We'd appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Also, pop on over to Finances Do Matter and subscribe there. And meanwhile, we wish you a safe, enjoyable weekend. And as we say at the end of each of our videos, a prosperous week ahead.